Attention Guilford County, are you ready for positive change in our schools? Introducing Bill Goble, a true champion for our students, parents, and teachers. With years of experience and unwavering dedication, Bill Goble is the leader we need on the school board. As a current member representing District 3, Bill is already making a difference, shaping policies that benefit our community. Vote for Bill Goble for school board, and let's build a brighter future for Guilford County together. Paid for by the committee to elect Bill Goble for school board.
Coming up in this episode of Finding Common Ground.
No, I will not shake his hand. And if you will, please research why. If you don't know why, please research why. He is a very despicable person.
There are two sides to every coin.
How do we deal with racial issues when they affect relationships?
Finding common ground on all those issues that we come against.
There's black and there's white.
And I think as Christians, we have to learn how to get together because we're not in heaven.
I've met more interesting people just by God just bringing them in.
Republicans and Democrats.
But a lot of times when it comes to race and it comes to culture and it comes to perception, even as Christians, we don't always understand. We look at it through our lenses.
There's Bill.
I grew up in a suburb of Cleveland called Parma.
Any black people in Parma?
There was not one.
Not one black person,
Not
Bill?
one.
Come
Not
on, Bill.
one.
You got to have one. A
Nope.
token black person? A token?
And there's Odell.
I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, public housing, single mom, divorced single mom of 4 kids. And I came up through segregation and all that kind of stuff.
If a black person drove through the town, the police would stop and escort them out.
Bill and Odell are finding common ground.
A part of what we have to do is listen to each other, find the common ground, and question, not questioning you like you're on a witness stand, but questioning you for a better understanding.
Father God, we just come to you in the precious name of Jesus Christ. God, we just thank you for grace and mercy. Just thank you for being so good to us, God. You've been good to us at times better than we've been to ourselves. God, as we continue to prepare and have conversations about different political opinions, and as things get closer to the election, we get more and more anxiety and energy from these conversations. Remind us, God, just to continue to be Christians, continue to be civil, continue to understand that all power is in your hand. So God, we just say we thank you, though. We thank you to have the privilege to live in a free country, the country that I say is the greatest country on the face of the earth at this time, and that's the United States of America. So God, please continue to bless this country, and God bless America. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Dear Heavenly Father, as we get closer to the election, I think we're 49 days away. And as my opponents and their supporters come at me with misrepresentations and all kinds of other things, let me have peace. Let me understand how you were treated unjustly and how you reacted to that. Lord, I just pray and lift up my opponents. I pray for them that they not be too nasty and that they realize that that's not the way to go. Amen.
Amen. Bill. All I did was got caught in a staff meeting yesterday, and I couldn't make it to the League of Women Voters. I don't want to say debate. What was the official name of it?
League of Women Voters Forum.
But League of Women Voters usually run a tight ship. I respect them. They run a tight ship.
Oh, yeah, they do.
And this, I got busy, Bill. I got busy. The black man got busy doing work. So, Bill, this morning, my feed, the first thing I see is Goble. He's a very despicable person. I'm like, what? Goble? Hold on a minute. Let me check.
Where did you see that?
It came in my feed on my Facebook feed or feeds, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. And then I read the article. This is the news, and this is the front. You got something about being on the front page of the newspaper,
the front fold, man. The front fold.
So I'm minding my own business, Goble. I leave you all alone for 1 minute, and you end up on the front page of the newspaper. And for the audience who don't know what's going on, it says it's a 3-way race, but there was just one attack. directed at just one person during a candidate forum Tuesday for the District 3 Guilford County Board of Education seat. Now, Mr. Goble just asked me to shake his hand. School board member Michael Logan said, "No, I will not shake his hand. And if you will, please research why. If you don't know why, please research why. He is a very despicable person." Despicable person. So me, Bill, being the black man from the dirt roads of South Carolina, I went and looked up what despicable means. Because I'm like, the way he said it, I want to know what despicable means.
So what does it mean?
It means deserving hatred and contempt. So I said, what does contempt mean? And contempt means the feeling that a person or a thing is beneath consideration, worthless, or deserving scorn. Say it ain't so, Bill.
Wow.
Say it ain't so, Bill. Say it ain't so.
Well, he did call me that. I didn't respond. You know, he has a right to name call, but all I can say is in Scouts, we have a youth protection thing, and we have to go through the training on youth protection. And one of the areas that we focus on for adults is how to identify bullying. Let me just read what the Scouts say. Forms of bullying can take many forms: verbal, name-calling, belittling, or taunting. Bullying is harassment or aggressive behavior that is intended to intimidate, dominate, coerce, or hurt another person, the target, mentally, emotionally, or physically. It's just not messing around. It is not part of growing up. Bullying is a form of victimization, not conflict. It is no more than conflict that is child abuse or domestic violence. Bullying is prohibited in Scouting. All forms of bullying violate the Scout oath and law. They go into social, physical, cyber. And cyber is interesting because it says using digital technology such as social media, cell phones to engage in these kinds of behaviors. A bullied youth may develop a poor self-image, low self-esteem, quit scouting, or become bully to others. This is perpetuating bully cycling. Studies indicate bullied youth tend to be future bullies. As a leader, either break the cycle or do not let it start. So if studies indicate bullied youth tend to be bullies, what does it say about my opponent?
But this is the school board. For everybody to understand, this is three, not old, but three.
No, old. Old is a good word. Old is a good word.
Three middle-aged white men sitting up there, one Democrat, one independent, and one Republican. Why are you even sitting by him in the first place?
They put us in alphabetical order. So Coates, Goble, Logan. I was in the middle.
So, Bill, what did you think when you heard that?
I just wanted to shake his hand. I wanted to shake both their hands and say, "Hey, let's do this. Good luck."
Did the Democrat guy shake your hand?
Oh, I never got to him after Michael called me that. I didn't know.
So you went to Logan first?
Yeah, he had the microphone.
Okay.
So
well, let me be quiet. Lay it out for me and the listening audience.
Well, it's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on YouTube on the local TV. I don't remember the station.
Cable 8.
Cable 8. It's going to be on Cable 8 by the end of the week. And the League of Women Voters is going to have it on YouTube.
Wow.
So if you want to see it actually happen, you can. But, I just thought, shaking his hand would be an appropriate thing. A good sportsmanship. My goodness, even boxers, touch gloves. So, and then they beat the heck out of each other. But,
well, Trump shaked Kamala hand.
He did. He shook Kamala's hand, and he was a gentleman. So, but hey, listen, I can't change what happened. I was trying to answer the questions, and there are some good questions. Like one of them wanted to know, are you in favor of the 0.25% sales tax that is being recommended for the county to pay our teachers more salary?
Of course.
And I am. And so I explained in my answer, I said, absolutely. And let me give you some concept of it. First off, the tax doesn't include food, doesn't include gas, and doesn't include your pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
And if you were to buy a pizza, it's like 10 cents extra for the tax.
Right.
So it's not a major thing, but it will generate, probably $25 to $30 million that we can raise teachers' salary.
And that's great.
Yeah, that's what they need. So I'm hoping that it passes. I'm in support of it. And another one question they asked was, we're seeing a lot of psychological issues with the kids, particularly after COVID. How would you handle that? And I said, well, we are handling it. We're putting more clinical psychiatrists, and mental health care workers in the schools. Right now, we have about a 1% budget for that in the budget. We probably need to raise it a few percentage points and put more people in there. But we're finding that the kids are coming in with the social issues because they weren't allowed to socialize during COVID. And that's a real important thing for young kids. Well, all kids, but young ones in particular. And it's now trickling into the teachers. The teachers are having to deal with it, and then they're having mental issues.
Gotcha.
And so now we have to give their mental health to the teachers as well, which, as long as we understand that and we can work with it and we find the money in the budget, we should go ahead and increase it. So, and there was, let's see, what was another one they wanted to know about? Where I stood on the vouchers. Is in North Carolina, we've been asking for the state of North Carolina's constitution says the state legislature has to fund free public school for everybody.
Right.
That's in our constitution. In fact, our founding fathers believed in public education for everybody because they felt a educated public on various things, history, math, spelling, helped us maintain democracy because an educated people can make good choices.
I agree.
So they believed in it. In fact, the first constitution by John Adams, it's still in existence in Massachusetts, states that. And one of the things they talk about is the things that they should learn is architecture, agriculture, science, math, manufacturing, a whole list of things. But the last one was really interesting.
What was that?
Good humor. We should have good humor in our schools.
And that was
one of the things they said. So I found that funding, we asked for money for our teachers. We're ranked in the 40th something for paying our teachers and 47th in the nation for funding our schools. And it's been going on for decades. It's related to charter schools and vouchers. And I said, look, I'm a businessman. We need to I believe in competition.
Yeah.
Competition's good.
I do also.
Yeah. If somebody wants to send their kid to a private school, go for it. They want to send their kid to a charter school, go for it. They want to go homeschool, go for it. Vouchers is a whole different animal. When you
Explain the difference.
If you look at, depending on your income, you get up to $7,800. 23% of the money. Well, first off, they gave almost $1 billion. So we're asking for money for our schools, for our teachers. They said we didn't have it. Now all of a sudden they found almost $1 billion.
$1 billion with a B?
Yeah. And I'm going, how does that happen? Was it just sitting in a drawer someplace? And so they gave it. But when you dissect it, a couple things jump out. One is 23% of that money will go to people that are making $259,000. 40% will go to people making $150,000. And on top of that, 2 counties in the state are going to get 70% of the money. Mecklenburg and Wake. There's no private schools in some of these rural areas.
Wow.
So they'll never get the money. And here's the other thing. If you get a voucher and you go to a private school and you can't make the grade or you become a problem and they kick you out, they send you to public school, the voucher doesn't come with you. The private school keeps the money.
No cost allocation,
Nothing.
None of that. It's
They
like
get the money.
Hey, I give you $1. I spend half the year. You give me my 50
I think they have to spend
back.
90 days, at least 90 days into school.
So everybody going to be good for 90 days.
Well, at 90 days, you're going to see a bunch of people showing up at our door, and there probably won't be the cream of the crop.
Wow.
So
how do you feel about that as someone who's so passionate about the youth, education, everything? You understand the numbers, you know this thing frontwards and backwards. And how do you feel about do you think the system's rigged?
I think the legislature, not all of them, but most of them, because it was majority rule, don't believe public education is good. They feel it's a place that people get indoctrinated with all kinds of weird stuff, and that private schools is where the focus should be in charter schools. Well, charter schools still come under public school. We give them the money. But here's the other thing: the accountability. A lot of the private schools don't have to have teachers that are certified. They don't report to the state like we have to as public school. So, they set their own rules, and where the public school has all these mandates it has to live up to, and it makes it, pretty challenging reporting. I do think that our teachers are probably spending too much time doing administrative work, and we got to figure out how to cut that back. And I don't know the answer to that, but that's something that I'd like to look into. I do think I took a look at people are saying, well, there's too much staff. We got too much top heavy. We got too many executives. So I took a look at that from a dollar standpoint. What are we spending for administration versus teachers versus maintenance, all that stuff. 5% of our budget goes to our executive staffs.
5% of the whole budget.
Yeah. So it's not 25%. And so what I want to do now is I want to go to corporate America and find out, what does corporate America have for executive staff? What kind of percentage? And I suspect it's above 5%.
Well, I don't know for sure, but I thought the last time it was about 16 to 17%.
Well, it might be. I don't know that number, but that would be a telling story. So, people, what I find is, as I get into politics, people have all these ideas of things, and a lot of them are not founded in data. They're not spending the time to look at stuff. And I do, because as a business person, your financial data and your market share data and your receivables and your payables and your sales data, all that, and your market share, all that tells you the health of your business, your turnover rate in your company. Jack Welch wrote a book, From My Gut. It's a great book. And in it, he talks about 20% of your executives are A players. And you do and they're the ones that motivate people, get things done, move the company forward. It's a mortal sin if you lose an A player.
Right.
And you got to keep them going and happy and working hard. B players are kind of like the steady eddies. They keep you going. The C players, there's 20% of them. You got to let them go. You got to let them go. So what we don't have in a school system, the ability to let people go, because it's public. And so,
when you say people, are you referring to administrators, teachers, students? What do you refer to?
Anybody, a teacher, a maintenance worker, a bus driver, a cafeteria, that's in that bottom 20%. It's actually drawn down the company or the school.
Got it.
And so Jack Welch says, if you don't get rid of that bottom 20%, you're not going to have a successful business. And when you replace them with the A players. So those A players are always challenged because they want to be challenged.
Right.
And that will move your company ahead by bringing in more A players, getting rid of the C players, and building the B players that keep everything going.
So, Goble, all that sounds great. And that's the answer. However, in a lot of politics today, a lot of it's around emotion. A lot of it appears to be anger. And
a lot of anger.
Why are people, Republicans, Democrats, Independent, so angry around the issues? So I'm going to assume when the gentleman said that he's a very despicable person, that was a sense of frustration or anger bubbling out. That's what I would think.
Yeah,
now,
I think you're right.
You didn't take it that way because you didn't respond.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. I've been called worse by some of those same people.
But he was sitting right next to you.
Yeah.
Did he look at you when he said it, or he looked straight ahead?
He looked straight ahead.
Did he ever make eye contact?
No.
Because one thing I learned from my friend, former Congressman Mark Walker, is hard to hate up close.
Yeah, that's a true statement. I think they were both a little uncomfortable sitting so close to me and me in the middle. I wasn't at all. I spent a lot of time when they were asking question, writing the question down. Yeah. Because you could have been the third in the list.
Right.
And you forget the question.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure I had the question. And they were good questions. I mean, and then he took some questions from the audience, which were really good. Dory wrote them all down. I don't have them in front of me.
But Bill, I thought that what the local Guilford County GOP was always saying when you were appointed, that's not fair. That's not fair. Allow the people to vote.
Yep.
I mean, that's what,
That's what we should do.
Well, Ric Flair said, to be the man, you got to beat the man. That's what Ric Flair said. Ric Flair said, to be the man, you got to beat the man. So now this is a vote, but now, you see it, man, if I get one more email for Kamala or one more a dollar a day keeps MAGA away. I mean, I'm getting all kinds of stuff, man.
I get 20 a day.
Man,
text and emails.
Who's keeping all this money that they raise it? Everybody talk about record money. Somebody's getting paid.
I thought you were getting it.
No. I at least I don't know. The fundraising people are getting percentages.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, they're walking around about a dollar a day will keep MAGA away. Send Kamala $1. I'm like, give me a break, man. But still, Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And so, Bill, you sitting there, and people just have to deal with it because, our tribalism in politics, that's the sense referred to strong political, solidarity, typically in post-truth politics. So you're sitting there, strong affiliation. You were a Democrat, now you're independent. So you were a Republican. The Republican Party kicked you out. You are independent. But I think I read something where the Democratic guy, who nobody even know, he's been in the city for one hot minute. Now he's telling people that Goble is this and Goble's that. Is everybody teaming up on you, Bill?
Yeah.
Is everybody teaming up on you?
I believe so.
Why?
That's a good question. You have to ask them. I don't know the answer to it. They asked me, one of the questions they asked us was, how do you work with people that have a different view than you? And boy, I was able to bring our Common Ground show into the focus and some of the people we've had on this show. And but one of the things I said is, you've got to sit down, and I told them you can't hate up close, but you can sit down and talk to people.
Right. And
if they're willing to sit down and have a conversation, you could probably find some common ground. And neither of my candidates thought that was a good idea, which is okay. They're allowed their opinion. I think there were maybe 100 people there, and maybe more. And there are two tables of one opponent's supporters, and there was Dory and I, and a couple other people. But
was my buddy there, Bill?
Yes.
Was my buddy there?
Yes, he was, and so was Lee Haywood, my other buddy.
So did my buddy shake your hand?
I didn't go over and talk to those guys. Okay. I figured there's no redeeming social value to go over there.
Boy, it's rough, man. When do Republicans get so rough?
They can come over and say hello to me too.
Well, you know what? You absolutely. Thank you for correcting me, my friend. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me.
Because I wasn't hiding from them. I was sitting there.
So you like Deion Sanders, prime time. You know where to find me.
Yeah, you know where to find me. And anytime you want to talk, I'm free.
Well, question. Good news. Peel Elementary School, the whole thing about the art school, by the road community.
Yeah, going up.
Did you go and sign the beam and everything?
No, I didn't. I couldn't make that one. Dory had me going up to the mountains.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah, so we had some family time, so I couldn't make it.
A lot of good things going on, because I know it's another one you went to sign the beam.
I went to Kaiser and Claxton, both that are in my district, and it was an honor to do that. And then Claxton's now open and doing well. I've got to go visit them. But right now, we're in the 49 days. So I'm going door to door, putting out my 2,000 yard signs. I'm doing a ton of stuff. Vic, I need to give you a sign.
Yeah, I have a sign.
Oh, you did? Did I give you one?
Yes, I have two of them.
Two of them?
But now I thought you're going to Ukraine.
Oh, yeah, I am. The 29th, I leave and fly to Krakow, and then we get there in the morning and we take a train to the Ukraine border and we spend a night there, and we get up in the morning and we take a train to Liev, I think it is, or there's Kiev and Liev, and that's about halfway to Kiev. And we're going to then take a car ride for an hour to a children's hospital where children that were injured in the war or have injuries, or maybe their dad is in the war.
Yeah.
We're going to go, and I'm going with Chef Brandon Kozowski. I may have pronounced that, from Edwin's. And he's going to look at the kitchen because they need a lot of equipment. And he's raising $30,000 to buy equipment. And so we're being met in the Polish border by a guide, a lady that he's known. He's been there once before. And she's terrific. And her husband's on the front line fighting. And she is going to be our sponsor and take us around and make sure, everything's taken care of. So we're going to go to Liev. We're going to cook for the kids. We're going to look at the kitchen. We got a bunch of gifts for them. I'm going to have them sign a bunch of Ukrainian flags and bring them back. And it will be to Stokesdale Elementary, to Oak Ridge Elementary.
Wow.
And they're going to take it to the kids.
Wow.
I'm going to show it to the town hall first, and I'm going to say I'm taking this to the kids. And then I'm trying to set up a Zoom call with the kids at the hospital, with the kids in the schools.
That's good.
So they
That's
can go
good.
back and forth. So I don't want to promise that because I don't know if we can make that happen.
Right.
But I'm going to lean on our lady that's taking us around.
Right.
And Brandon said that she's the one that could make it happen, but she's very cautious about people manipulating kids for their own advantage.
Explain. What does that mean?
I don't know what that means, but I think it means maybe saying, here, we're having a fundraiser for these kids and sending them money.
Okay. $1 a day, keep the MAGA away type thing. Yeah.
So once she realized, my intentions are honorable, then she will facilitate all that. And my job is to connect with her and the school teachers and do that in maybe an auditorium.
What's the time difference?
I don't know the answer to that, but I think it's at least 6 hours. So if it's 6 o'clock in the morning, maybe 12. No, it's not 12 hours. I'll have to look that up. In fact, while we're doing that, I'll Google that.
But one of the things too is that when you think about all the good stuff that you're doing in kids, and you think about kids playing on the playground, not in a war zone. I've seen many pictures along with everyone else of some of the bombing of the child care centers, and people ask the question, and it's a fair one to ask, was that intentional or that was unintended consequences? But we know that unintended consequences are still consequences. Yeah. So quite possibly you're going to go and see children who may be missing a limb. And parents who may be missing, you're going to see a lot of stuff. Have you ever been in a war zone before, Goble?
Yeah, when I went to Republican Party with the when they had a kangaroo court, that was a big war zone. I should have wore a flak jacket and a helmet.
Oh, bad.
It's 7 hours difference.
Okay,
so 7 hours, so that's not a big deal. But no, to answer your question, I have not been in a war zone. I've been to 43 countries. This is my 44th. I've been in areas where I had to have bodyguards, like Medellin, Colombia, where you're in bulletproof cars and you're moved every night. I've been in Nigeria and seen bodies on the side of the road. I've been in Zimbabwe when they had tried a coup, and we were stuck in our hotel for a couple of days. So I've been around some stuff. But
this is America, though. This is America. We don't have that kind of stuff going on. Let me just tell you something that happened the other day. I was at my corporate headquarters in Panera Bread, and it's a group of guys, older guys.
My age?
Yeah, Republican guys. They've been sitting there for years. They leave right around 9. So they probably get there 8 o'clock every morning. They sit around. And I usually, if I have an early meeting over there, I'll kind of sit in there with them. So I went in there. I had a 9 o'clock meeting. I got there a little early, went and sat in their circle, and we just started talking. And hey, Odell, hey. And they started talking about Trump winning the debate against Vice President. I said, no, he didn't win. And all of a sudden, they're like, yes, he did. And I'm like, no. And I said, guys, when I was here before, and Trump beat Biden, I came and I told you all, okay, I'm surrendering. Trump beat Biden, like he stole something, and everybody laughed and had a good time at Odell's expense because I'm the only Democrat in the circle. Yeah. And I figured, okay, now when Kamala beat Trump, they would do the same thing. No, Bill, it didn't happen like that.
No.
One individual in the group, and I won't call it by name out of respect for him, he got so upset. he got so upset. And I'm like, yo, let me just say, John, hey, John, why are you so upset? Your whole facial expression is changing and your eyes are starting to look. And he's like, why? I just don't like it. And Odell, do you want to live in a socialist country? And Odell, do you want to, they're taking your money, our money, and giving it to them people? And I'm like, who's them people? And then we just start going and the next thing, you know, it's like, well, can she stand up to Putin? Can she stand up to the Japanese, to the Chinese president? Can she stand up to the North Korean president? And I said, well, wait a minute. Then they said under Trump, black had jobs and all this. I'm like, wait a minute, because I thought I was listening to Fox News. So I said, well, right now, she doesn't have to stand up to Putin and any of these people. She's standing up to former President Trump. And I said, from what I saw, it looks like she's standing up to him pretty well. They didn't like that, Bill. It's almost like, if you're not part of the echo chamber, if you're challenging the circle, and they had said, well, Odell, then another one jumped in, well, Odell, tell me what she stands for. If you could just tell me what she stands for, what's she standing for? And I said, I don't know. And that disarmed him because he wants to argue that. And I'm like, guys, you know, and I know we left political parties and platforms a long time ago. I said, former President Trump led the way. We don't even deal with that anymore. We're dealing with personality and tribalism when it comes to politics. Yeah. Then they talked about the debt ceiling. I said, now, come on, don't even start that again. Republicans gave up the debt ceiling a long time ago when Trump came. But I asked them this, Bill, I said, do you think America is ready for a female president? And then they act like they didn't hear me. So they said, well, you know, we got into tribalism back in Obama. And I'm like, we went back to Obama? That's just like people saying back to OJ. And I thought for a minute, Bill, and I caught myself, and I thought for a minute, is this the race thing easing back up? But I don't even want to insinuate that. What I will say is that other countries around the world, Bill, they have females heading up as their leaders. Why does the United States struggle with the idea of a woman leader when other countries don't? Why do we struggle with that, Mr. Goble?
Think of Margaret Thatcher.
Yes.
The Iron Lady.
Yes.
I mean, she was tough. Gold in my ear. I mean, you can go through a list. And yeah, there's been some weak ones, but there's been a lot of weak guys too.
Exactly.
And it has nothing to do with gender. You know, I had a guy send me today that is a big Magna guy, and he was at the debate, and he came up and he says, I'm sorry for what happened to you, and you handled it very well.
Oh, well, okay, wait a minute. I got confused. You had me. This is a guy who's a big Magna supporter. He was at the debate, not former President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris debate. Your debate when the young man called you despicable. Right. That debate. Okay. Yep. So he came up to you who's totally against you, but said to you, I'm sorry for what happened to you.
Well, he said, and why don't you and your wife go out to dinner with me and my wife?
Wow.
And then he sent me a nice text. And so he sent me a text today. And he says, I want your opinion. I don't mean to be confrontational, but I want your honest opinion about this article. And the article said, basically, the Boy Scouts have gone woke by changing their name to Scouts USA.
Oh my God.
That's what my brother Marty said. But my brother Marty doesn't understand what woke means. That's the
you ask half the people what does woke mean. They said, I don't know, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I don't like it.
It's like critical race theory. You know, all of a sudden it becomes a political football. But so I told him, I said, I'm going to answer this a couple ways. One is, we still teach duty to God, duty to country, service to others, and take care of yourself. That hasn't changed. We still teach leadership and character development. Mm-hmm. All we did was open that up to the other 50% of American youth.
Wow.
And because we opened it up, the name boys doesn't apply to everybody. It only applies to 50% of our scouting population.
Right.
And we've had girls in scouting since 1984. Just not in the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scout area. We've had them in venturing and exploring and Sea Scouts and all that. And all our camps are co-ed because of it. And so, it was no big deal for us. Just change the name. We're still chartered as the Boy Scouts of America, doing business as Scouts USA. I said, let me share with you a YouTube video of Shelby Chipman that was on her.
She's excellent. She is excellent.
Yeah. So I said, this is the lady who came from Oak Ridge, his town.
Wow.
And said, she's a product of what we did. And she talks about the name doesn't mean anything. It's what we develop kids with. So you can call us the Blue Moon Group. It doesn't mean anything. Are we developing the same things for 100 years? You betcha. We haven't changed that. It works. It works. It works. Yesterday, we were in Raleigh, and we were at a fundraiser for the Okanichi, the Raleigh Council, and they did it at the Angus Barn, which, folks, if you don't know Angus Barn, it's a big privately owned steak place, famous steak place. And, we like to seat 500-600 people. It's classic, but we take over their pavilion, and we had 300 or 400 people there. We raised $240,000 for Scout Reach.
Almost $250,000.
For just the endowment for Scout Reach. So let me explain what Scout Reach is. Scout Reach is for those underprivileged kids that can't afford the dues or a uniform or camping equipment or the money to go to camp or transportation.
Right.
All that stuff. And that's not a color issue.
Right.
I mean, we have a lot of white kids that are in this. So that's what we do. But then 2 weeks from now, we're actually doing our real fundraiser, which we take over the Carolina Hurricanes ice skating rink. We cover the whole floor, and we'll put 1,200 people, and we'll raise 1.2 to 1.4 million for the council. And 2 years ago, we had George W. Bush come. And so in this year, it's going to be Richard Petty and his son, Kyle.
The King.
Yeah.
The King. He's good.
Yeah.
I like the King.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's old.
Yeah.
He's in his late 80s.
But Bill, so back to the point, the guy did not like the fact that you all changed the name.
No. So I haven't looked to see if he's responded. So, and that's a fair question. No, I get it. I mean, I don't mind people asking, hey, why you do that? Would it have been easier to just leave it as Boy Scouts and just say, hey, don't worry about it if you're a girl, just ignore it? Yeah, it would have been easier to do that, but I don't know if that's fair to the youth. I think we're scouting America, scouting USA. You go to, I'm going to see the Scouts in Ukraine.
Wow.
I've got a meeting with the Scouts in Ukraine. We're trying to figure out, and I'm going to meet the national board chair and some of the board members. They are going to pick me up and drive me around Kiev. And I'm thinking, dude, this is a war zone. I don't know if I want to go driving around, but they feel comfortable. They said, oh, no, don't worry. They only bomb at night. We'll get you back in time. And you got to be 11 o'clock.
Whoa. They only bomb at night.
Yeah.
So, Goble, to your point, though, why so much name calling? Why so much anger? Why so much?
That's a great question.
Changing?
Yeah.
You changed it. The dinosaurs wish they could have changed.
Well, let me tell you, I bet you the people had the same issue when we came out with a telephone, we came out with a TV, we came out with computers. I think when you change something with people, I bet you people didn't like indoor plumbing, The wives did, I'm sure. But, some people thought you're so lazy. You can't go out to the outhouse.
Well, how about
get your own water?
How about a corn cob versus toilet paper? You think anybody had a problem converting from a corn cob to toilet paper, Bill?
I don't even think about that. That makes me squirm. But I think when people change things and they're not educated on it, they do that. And I also think people are angry. They had a guy on 60 Minutes this week, and he was one of the January 6th guys.
Okay.
And he drove, I think, from Washington State to be there. And they have him. He was one of the guys that was really angry. They got him pictures of him. And they went and he got put away. But they were talking to him before he was under house arrest. And he said, I think the election was stolen.
Okay.
I think we were patriots because Trump calls them patriots. And he's going to let them out. And he says, because I'm not being treated fairly, and my family's not being treated fairly.
What does that mean?
He has a handicapped wife, and I think they're struggling financially, and probably emotionally.
Okay,
I mean that's a big burden.
Yes,
particularly if you have a family.
Yes.
So he was an angry person, And so when Trump came out and said they stole the election and, they're stealing your money and they're not giving you what you should, and the money, and he said, all this medical stuff that I got to pay for
Right.
is going free to all these immigrants.
Okay.
The education's going free to all. So he was like all over that. So the commentator was trying to explain to him that none of that is true.
Uh-huh.
But he had, and he admitted he watched Fox and he listened to some of these extremists. But he also said, I shouldn't have done what I did on January 6th. Because they got pictures of him. He was screaming at the cops. And he was one of the first ones in, breaking the door down. They show a picture of him kicking the door down. And he said, I probably could have handled it differently, but I got caught up in it. And he said, someday I may be proven wrong. And when I do, I will admit it and I'll repent. But right now, I don't think I was wrong.
Wow, that's powerful. One lesson I've learned, I'm 64 years old now. One lesson I learned years ago, 2 lessons. Let me talk about the first one. I used to have an anger problem when I was young, and I would get so upset on any little thing that happened.
Set you off?
Yeah, just set me off. Just literally set me off, Bill.
How old were you?
Probably teenagers.
61.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
And I would just go off, and almost like I would blink out. I mean, I would get so angry at something and just respond. And it's almost like I was anger literally took over me.
You're out of control.
I was out of control.
Yeah.
And then when I calm back down, it's like everybody should understand.
What did I just do?
Yeah, everybody should understand that, I didn't mean that, or I meant it, or whatever. But then another thing, I was coming back from seminary years ago, back in 1996. I was going to seminary, get my master's in divinity degree. And by the way, what helped me with my anger is finding Jesus Christ as my Lord and personal Savior. Let me say that. Let me say that. That helped me just change my whole everything. When I got saved, that helped me so much.
Good.
Guess what kind of church I got saved in, Bill?
I don't know.
A white church.
Really?
I know, man.
Oh, man.
I know. We got to talk about that one day.
Whoa.
I'm telling you,
Whoa.
a white church, man. I got to talk to you about that one day, how it happened, Bill.
Was it Pentecostal?
I don't know what it was. I'll talk to you about that. I don't think it was Pentecostal.
We need to talk about that sometime. I'll tell you what the church I got saved in.
Don't tell me you got saved in a black church, Bill.
It was. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was a group of people that had like their own church, but they were in somebody else's church building. They would do service on Wednesday. It's in Greenwich, Connecticut. I need to go back to it and check it out. Yeah, it was totally different than a Catholic church or anything else I've been in. And I don't think it matters where you're saved.
No, not at all. Yeah. But let me jump back to that second point. Yeah. The second point was this. I was going to seminary, and I was driving down to Salisbury, North Carolina, going to Hood Theological Seminary. I was going to either go to Duke Divinity School or Hood Theological Seminary, and Hood was accredited, Duke was accredited. I didn't want to go to Liberty University, and there's one in Charlotte. I didn't want to go there. It's just too far. And I was riding back late at night. In those days, Rush Limbaugh and other people talk show, and I would listen to talk shows.
I used to listen to Rush all the time.
And one thing the guy said, one night I was riding back, just listening. You had to do AM because that's the one you can get the station on. Yep. And a white guy was talking about something. He was complaining. And I'm kind of going back to your guy. And the guy was complaining about how tough life was, right? Mm-hmm. And he said something that I'll never forget. He said, I'm having a hard time. And the way he said it was just so natural. He said, but I thank God, at least I'm not black. And when he said that, here I am, going down 85 North by myself late at night. I think it was the winter time. And what this white gentleman said was this: in spite of everything going on in my life, at least I ain't black. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean, Bill? I mean, you know what I mean? Think about it. Think about it. What does that mean? Like, it doesn't matter how bad it get. My whiteness is a protection from at least I'm not black. I'm like, wow. Now, I know that's not everybody, but it put in perspective.
I've heard that comment in my lifetime.
Well, I've read it in history where back slavery, Civil War and everything, that one of the things that those who had ways and means kept the other folks fighting each other is saying, hey, at least you better than black people, or at least you better than this. And so it's almost like divide and conquer.
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
And as you look at that, though, one of the things is like the challenger we talked about when they were talking about Kamala. So that's why I said I don't think it's a black thing. But let me just stick right here for my conversation with my buddies, my Republican buddies at Panera Bread, my corporate headquarters. And they were saying, because she's standing up to these folk. And I'm like, well, if Trump's the biggest and the baddest bully on the playground, I think she did well against him. And Ric Flair says, to be the man, you have to beat the man. I think she beat the man because everybody was saying, just wait till she get in a debate with Trump. Wait till Trump's going to tear her apart. And it's like, but it didn't happen that way. She beat him. Intellectually, she ran circles around former President Trump. So if Trump is the king and Putin and all these other people are the challengers and she beats the king, then if she could stand up to the biggest and toughest bully on the playground, I think she could stand up to these other individuals because this is what people don't understand. It's the position. It's the title, not the individual. The president of the United States of America is the most powerful position in the world. Not the person, it's the position. The position itself comes with respect. The president, they play the song. You stand up on the president's interests. And that's what it's about, guys. The position, being the president of the United States, whether it's a he, she, black, white, green, yellow, it's the position. And we have to honor the position. Bill, I have a couple positions. I have a parking space at work. I have reserved seats in the sanctuary. I know. I get special treatment, not because it's Odell, a good-looking black man. It's the position that I hold. I hold a very high position at my place of employment, which is a mega church. I hold a very high position at a lot of board of directors meetings. I'm on the board, but that's not because of Odell. A lot of those things, that sign right there for reserved parking spaces doesn't say Odell Cleveland, a good-looking black man. It says reserved Chief Administrative Officer. So if I'm not the Chief Administrative Officer, Bill, that's not my spot anymore. If former President Trump is not the president, that's not his spot anymore. It's about the position, Bill. It's about the position, not the person.
Yeah. And, Trump has not conceded that he lost. So his view is that he still should be president. And that's why he's running. But you're right. When I was growing up in Parma, we often talked.
Any black people in Parma, Bill? Any black people?
Not when I was growing up. But we talked about you a lot.
There you go.
We
you
talked
about black folk?
Oh,
what did y'all say about us, Bill? What did y'all say about black folk in Parma?
How can they afford that Cadillac?
Oh,
that's what they would say.
You know what? That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah. And, how are they getting money? How are they making money? They don't have any skills. They don't, blah, 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 blah. And look at how they're dressed. Look at that. They look so different and weird. And look at their hair.
Oh, it's the afro?
Yeah. What's
the afro?
Yeah, we were wearing crew cuts.
Yeah.
And they had an afro. You had an afro, right?
I had an afro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, looking back at all those comments, I was young and I figured, that's how you're supposed to think about people. Never occurred to me of them as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
It never did. Even though my grandfather and my grandmother, probably very liberal Democrats at the time, but very conservative fiscally.
Uh-huh.
And they did a lot of good works for the community. My grandfather was a councilman for 27 years. He was called Grandpa Joe. And we used to campaign for him, the grandkids, all the time. And but I was young. I didn't understand a lot of the stuff was going on, and my parents didn't really sit down and say, "Let us explain about black people and people that are different than you, Jewish people," and we never got into that. We lived in our little own cocoon. We could walk to our church, walk to our school. The big thing for us was when Kentucky Fried Chicken opened up a franchise at Kenny King's, and Dad once a week.
Kenny King's?
Kenny King's was a fast food store.
Okay,
it was a restaurant that bought the franchise for making Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I think once a month Dad would go buy a bucket or two, and oh my gosh, it was so good, and And then on Fridays nights, we'd go to VFW Hall. My dad was a member, and we'd have the fish fry.
Wow.
And Dad would give us a roll of dimes, and we'd play on those little bowling machines.
Okay.
And there's 8 kids. We all got 2 tries, and then we'd have a fish fry, and Dad would have a shot and a beer, and Mom would hang out, and 8 kids. There's a lot of money to spend for dinner with 8 people, and he was a fireman, so he made $20,000. But growing up, and so I think there's still some of that, unfortunately, in society today, and it's not only blacks, it's immigrants. They're making the immigrants now the blacks. They're doing that kind of thing.
Well, former President Trump said they're taking black jobs.
Oh, I know. Which, the Haitians that are supposedly eating cats and dogs, the people are supporting them like crazy in Springfield.
Isn't it interesting that Haitians are black?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Haitians are black.
Are they?
Yeah.
They were slaves brought over to work in the sugar cane?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I wanted to read for you. I've read this before, but I thought it'd probably apply to what we're doing. This is from General J.B. Hood, Confederate general, to the general of the Union sources. Let's see if I can get who it was going to. But the Union general, William Sherman, they had a series of exchanges of letters. And Sherman had, marched to the sea, but he was in Atlanta, and he had Atlanta surrounded, and he offered General Hood the opportunity in one of his letters to resign, to what do you call it? Give up. Surrender. Thank you. And now that I think about it, General Hood called General Sherman despicable.
Okay.
In this letter, without using that word. Here's what General Hood said to General Sherman. You, General Sherman he's talking about, came into our country with your army avowing for the purpose of subjugating free white men, women, children, not only to intend rule over us, but to make Negroes your allies and desire to place them over us, an inferior race. The blacks, meaning blacks were inferior, which we have raised from barbarism to their present great position.
Wow.
You say, let us fight it out like men. To this I reply, my reply is for myself, and I believe all the true men and women and children in the country. We will fight you to the death. Better to die 1,000 deaths than submit to live under your government, you and your government and your Negro allies.
That's powerful.
Yeah. The mindset of the general.
That is so powerful that he believed that way. Let me speak for...
So people believe in Magna? Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, but we're not going to say Magna from a racial perspective. Let's say Magna from people have their own political views. Yep. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not racial.
Okay. So let me speak as the descendant or the black person in the room. Now, sometime when growing up in South Carolina, sometime people may look at you and say, how did you get that Cadillac you point? How do you get those fancy clothes? How do you have a
People would ask me that today if I bought one.
Right. Well, how do they have their hairstyle? People want you to simulate into the way they want you to look and be and act. It's a sense of freedom for me as someone who came through corporate America, who had the short haircut, who had the attaché briefcase, who wore suit and ties every day, who people ask me to cut off all my facial hair, and I fought just to keep a mustache, and all those type of things, Bill. And code switching, and you understand what code switching is, So all that is good, but it's almost like in a crazy way, it's almost like when we see people who come into the country and they say, hey, how can this person, immigrant, I hear a lot of Mexicans from time to time, how can they come in this country and do so well? How can they do? And it's almost like we are upset if someone is doing better than us, but they're busting their behinds. They're working all kinds of jobs that we don't want to work. They're living 3 and 4 families in a household to a certain degree, not always, and I'm not stereotyping, I'm just saying, and they work together and people get upset. It's like, well, why does Odell as a black person get to live in this neighborhood? And Bill, the thing is that I'm beyond the point, and a lot of other African Americans are beyond the point of who's going to let us move in a certain neighborhood. Now the question is, who's going to stop you? Who's going to stop you? Because I think it's fair to say that if you have the money and you can afford to build a house or buy a house in a certain neighborhood, I think that it's fair to say we can do that. Redlining and all that, all those were systemic systems put in place to make sure you couldn't borrow money from the bank and move in certain neighborhoods, or some houses had covenants that this house can never be sold to a person of African descent. And for some people, they may feel that black hands are only good for picking cotton or anything like that. And that's their right. I disagree with that vehemently, but that's their right to believe what they believe. But I don't accept their beliefs. And not that this issue that we got into at my corporate headquarters at Panera Bread was about race. It was about Odell refused to accept the premise that they kept saying, and they got so angry. And the question is, why are everyone so angry when things don't go their way?
Well, they were going to, I'm sure they were saying, what does she stand for? Where's her position?
All day long. He peppered me with all that.
Yeah, yep. And, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I'm sure she has positions on things. I guess you can go to her website and you would see it, but I can't articulate those positions.
We can't even articulate Trump's position.
No.
We hear it, but
Yeah, absolutely. But you're right. You made me think about something as you were talking about the new car. When you get a new car and your friends go, "Oh, you got a new car."
It's like,
right? You got a new car. Everybody notices you got a new car. I wonder if the same thing happened when you got a new horse back then.
Good point.
Oh, you got a new horse.
How about, you've been working since you were 14 years old. You've been working your whole life.
And saving money. And you don't spend your money crazily, frivolously. No, they don't ask that.
Oh, they don't?
No. You got a new car.
Oh, you have a new house.
Yeah.
Oh, you have a new suit.
Yeah.
Oh, you lost weight.
Yeah.
Oh, so is that our friends or our frenemies?
I don't know. I think it's human nature. To
what?
Well, I think, you got something that I don't have.
But why can't I celebrate your successes and cheer for you? Because the God that I believe in, that if he blesses Bill, then I might get blessed too.
Well, you need to celebrate. Do you celebrate when somebody becomes a believer?
Yes.
Yeah, but people don't go, "Oh, you're a believer." They don't do that.
No, they don't do that.
They don't do that.
Good point.
So I think it's human nature.
Oh, you got another car. Oh, you have money to run a campaign.
Yeah.
Oh, you buying an election.
I had a guy come over here. I won't use his name. A local guy, And when we first bought this house 30 years ago, he goes, "Oh, you can't hide money." And I go, "What the heck does that mean?"
So that was a backhanded compliment?
Yes. Meaning that, he's got money, but you can't hide it. Look at what he bought.
But what's wrong with having money? That's the American way, capitalism.
I don't know. I've never heard that comment before. It's the first time I heard it. So usually when I hear something that I really haven't processed intellectually, I don't respond.
Got it.
Because I found that if I do respond, I'll regret it later because I could have responded better.
Speaking of that, let me hit something and then I'm going to ask you about your campaign. But guess what I found out, Bill?
What'd you find out?
Summerfield, new town managers pledges to be transparent. Summerfield board unanimously hired Charles Twig Rollins. And as soon as I heard the name Twig, I said, "Twig, welcome to Guilford County." Twig, they're going to bring
Where's he from?
Oh, man, great question.
I think he's from Parma.
Nah, Twig's not from Parma. They said in 2020 census, Magnolia, he's from Magnolia, North Carolina. Magnolia had 831 residents compared to nearly 11,000 from Summerfield. Rollins said he does not see the difference between the size of a community as an issue. He emphasized his experience in administration roles serving larger communities, including his time as a planning director for Duplin County and emergency service director for Anson and Pender counties. So Twig is coming. Twig!
When's he start?
October, I think Twig starts October the 15th or something like that.
I got to go meet Twig.
Hey, listen.
He's in my district.
Hey. Twig
Is that what he's called? Is that his name, Twig?
Yes. I'm serious, man. Charles Twig Rollins. The 59-year-old Rollins will earn $140,000, slightly below the nearly $151,000 salary the previous town manager, Scott Whitaker, was making. Dana Luther has served as the interim manager since Whitaker left in June. And Twig says, hey, I'm just looking forward to meeting with everyone in the community, getting up there and get going, Rollins said in the interview. Twig! Welcome, Twig! Welcome, Twig!
I've never heard of someone called Twig.
Oh, man. Goble, as we move toward close, how's the campaign going? You were labeled Despicable. I mean, front page of the paper, some people say all publicity, any publicity is good publicity.
Oh, I agree with that. And they had a picture of me.
Twig!
Yeah, had a picture of me right there.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe next time I'll get Twig to come with me.
Maybe. But how's everything going? And it's interesting that it appears that you're not these two individuals' fan. They're not the president of your fan club. And I hope that when it's all said and done, you all have some sense of respect and understanding because...
Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do.
Okay.
When I win...
Yes, sir.
I'm going to call both of them.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not going to say, I'm not asking you to concede.
Yes, sir.
But you got X number of votes. You represent X number of people.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to work with you with those people if you want.
No, sir.
And they're going to be saying, no, sir.
They're going to say, no, sir.
That's okay. But I'm going to reach out to them. I'm going to make a public statement about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I think there'll be a certain amount of people that vote for them that won't vote for me. Now, some percentage won't shake my hand and will be ugly to me, but I'll still want to represent them.
It's about the children, though. I thought it was about the children.
You got that right.
I didn't think it was about adults. It's about the children.
Yeah. And that's the focus. It should be. So I think that the campaign's going well. I'm starting door to door. I did a whole bunch of stuff last weekend at Oak Ridge, Ridge Fest. No, the weekend before.
How did that go?
Good. I probably met 1,000 people.
Wow.
I handed out.
Did any of them shake your hand?
There was one guy that came up with a Trump sticker, and he was a good guy. He says, I told him, look, I'm running for school board, and I appreciate you considering me, and look at my qualifications. And his question to me was, are you voting for Trump?
That's the only qualification he wanted to know. Are you voting for Trump or not?
Yeah, that was I said, that has nothing to do with the school board.
Right.
He was not happy with that answer.
People want to hear what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's a good point.
So then I had another guy come by that's a big Republican. And, I talked to him. I said, hey, how you doing? He was one of the guys that was against me and said some nasty things. But he came by and he was walking by and I said, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. I'm going to Ukraine the end of the month and I'm taking this American flag with a white paper underneath it. And we're having people sign it for the kids saying, we hope you're doing better and we support Ukraine. I don't support Ukraine. It was for the kids.
It was for the kids.
Yeah.
The kids who getting bombed at night.
Yeah.
The kids.
Yeah. And so the switch goes and you can't change that. And I think there's a certain percentage of people I'm finding. And again, in scouting, we weren't brought up that way. If you disagreed with somebody or you had a problem or you saw that, a troop was having problems setting up because they're all young kids.
You go help them.
You doggone right.
But guess what? Some people were brought up. No matter how bad it gets, at least I ain't black.
Yeah.
No matter how bad it gets, at least I thank God. And I think that's what he said. At least I thank God that I'm not black.
Holy cow. Wow. Well, let's end on a positive note.
Well,
I'm glad I'm with you as a partner and we share common ground.
And I'm glad that I was born black. Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud.
I'm proud too. Amen.
Find Bill and Odell online at thecommonground.show. This podcast is a production of BG Ad Group. All rights reserved.
Attention men, here's an important new podcast you need to be listening to.
So this whole issue about prostate and prostate health and all the challenges that we're having with it, but no one's talking. So that's the reason why I started this podcast, so we can talk, so we can get understanding. I understand I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical individual. I'm just an ordinary, normal guy who had some issues to say, hey, let's talk about this thing.
P is for Prostate with Odell Cleveland. Download anytime where you get your podcasts. And join for the full podcast at www.patreon.com/Odell Cleveland.
Whether you're a big, medium, or small business, managing and growing the bottom line is important. Focus CFO brings the experience and financial acumen of a Fortune 100 Chief Financial Officer to your company at a fraction of the cost. P&L help, internal reporting processes, or any business transitions or events. Focus CFO will help you and your team have a CFO in your company's back pocket. Focus CFO. Learn more at focuscfo.com.